There is a whisper from eternity that many do not hear, yet it echoes louder the closer we draw to the final chapters of life. It is not a whisper of fear, it is a divine caution, a heavenly counsel. Be careful in your old age. The world celebrates youth. It exalts the beginnings, but God often weighs the ending far more than the start. For it is not how you begin that will define the legacy of your life, it is how you finish. The pages of Scripture are filled with those who walked in truth when they were young but stumbled when their strength faded, not from the body but from the Spirit. Many people begin their journey in life with passion, energy, and vision. They are filled with dreams and fire, motivated to do great things and make a difference. But as time passes, as the years stretch long and the wear of life settles in, something begins to shift. The passion that once burned bright can begin to flicker. The excitement of calling can fade into routine. The start of the race is full of adrenaline, but the final laps test what truly lives in the heart. It's easy to begin with strength. It's far more difficult and far more meaningful to finish well. Life is not a sprint. It's a marathon, and the reward is not given to those who started with the loudest cheers, but to those who cross the finish line with faithfulness. Many begin walking in truth, integrity, and purpose, only to be distracted, discouraged, or slowly pulled off course over time. Sometimes it's not a massive failure or a loud fall that derails a person, it's a quiet compromise, a slow fading of conviction, a comfortable drifting that goes unnoticed until the path is far from where it once was. The danger isn't only in youth's recklessness, but in old age's complacency. There are countless examples throughout time of individuals who had shining beginnings but faded into forgettable endings. The one who finishes well, who stays faithful even when the spotlight fades, is the one who truly honors their purpose. It's not about how impressive your first steps were. It's about whether you kept stepping when no one was watching, whether you kept believing when the miracles slowed, whether you kept loving when others walked away. Finishing well means you remain rooted when the winds of time blow hard. It means you refuse to settle into comfort when your soul still has mountains to climb. To finish well is to be deliberate. It is to recognize that the later seasons of life are not less important, they are more sacred. These are the moments when your legacy is cemented. These are the years that shape how future generations remember you, not just for what you did, but for who you were when it mattered most. Finishing well requires humility, vigilance, and the daily decision to stay the course, to keep your eyes fixed on what is eternal. It's never too late to recommit. It's never too late to course correct. No matter your past, your finish can still be strong. The strength to finish well doesn't come from your body, it comes from your spirit. When your physical steps grow slower, your spiritual resolve can grow stronger. Finishing well means carrying the torch to the very end, lighting the way for others long after you're gone. It means closing the story with the same passion and purpose that marked its first page, and in doing so, writing a final chapter that echoes into eternity. As people age, there is often a tendency to relax, to let down the guard, to assume the spiritual battle has eased, but that is one of the most dangerous assumptions anyone can make. The truth is, old age can become one of the fiercest spiritual battlefields. The battles may not look the same as they did in youth. They may not be filled with the same temptations or youthful distractions, but they are no less real and often more subtle. In fact, in the quiet of old age, when routines are set and responsibilities shift, the heart can become more vulnerable to compromise, pride, and spiritual sleep. The enemy often waits for these moments not when you're strong and watchful, but when you feel tired, unneeded, or forgotten. In the stillness of later years, he whispers lies, that your best days are behind you, that your purpose is complete, that no one is watching, that it's okay to coast now. These are dangerous lies because they appeal to the desire for rest without responsibility, peace without perseverance, comfort without calling. But the truth is, as long as you are alive, you are still in the fight. Spiritual vigilance becomes more important than ever in these later seasons. What you allowed in your heart when you were younger might not be acceptable now, not because the rules have changed, but because your awareness of the weight of every decision is greater. In old age, your influence might be quieter, but it is deeper. Others may look to you as a model, whether you realize it or not. Your wisdom, your stability, your faithfulness, they are the weapons you now wield, and they are powerful when used with intention. The battlefield of the mind is perhaps the fiercest at this stage of life. Regret, fear, bitterness, and nostalgia can all cloud judgment and distract from living fully in the present. The enemy may not tempt with youthful lusts, but with discouragement and despair, isolation and inertia. He aims to make people feel spiritually retired as if their service is no longer needed, but this is never the case. The later years can be rich with spiritual authority, clarity, and deeper communion with the divine if one stays vigilant. Complacency is the quiet killer of legacy. It whispers that it's okay to settle down, to ignore the disciplines that once fueled your faith. It tells you to live in past memories instead of future vision. But the truth is, your final chapters matter immensely. The fight doesn't stop because the body slows down. In fact, that's when the inner strength must rise even more. Stay awake, stay guarded, stay faithful. In this battlefield, victory belongs to those who refuse to sleep while the enemy works. It belongs to those who finish not with apathy, but with fire. And in the end, the reward will not be for how fast you ran in the beginning, but for how watchful, brave, and faithful you remained when the shadows lengthened and the race neared its close. There's a dangerous misconception that as people grow older, their purpose diminishes, that retirement from work somehow means retirement from meaning, from calling, from impact. But purpose is not tied to age. It does not expire when the calendar says you've reached a certain number. In fact, some of the most powerful assignments in life may be given in later years. When experience, wisdom, and maturity align, they create a foundation strong enough to carry greater responsibility and deeper spiritual weight. Throughout history, the most unexpected transformations and victories have come through those who were considered past their prime by worldly standards. The later seasons of life often bring a calmness and clarity that youth lacks. This clarity is not weakness, it is a sharpened edge forged through trial, loss, and reflection. It's the kind of clarity that can shift generations, guide the young, and speak with authority into the confusion of the modern world. Old age should not be seen as an end, but as a platform, a place from which to declare, build, guide, and still grow. Some of the greatest callings don't come until the strength of the flesh gives way to the strength of the spirit. Because when the body is no longer the focus, the heart becomes the vessel, and it is through the heart that true purpose flows. In this stage, you're not limited, you're refined. Time has carved out the distractions and stripped away the need to prove anything to anyone. What's left is truth, what's left is substance. And that's exactly what this world needs, not flashy ambition, but faithful action, not noise, but depth, not trends, but timeless truth. One of the most tragic outcomes of modern culture is the belief that older generations are meant to step aside and fade into the background. But in the divine order of things, the elders lead the way. Their voice becomes the compass for those navigating new waters. Their faith becomes the testimony that God is still working, still moving, still speaking. So instead of asking, what's left for me, the better question is, what can I do now that I couldn't do before? Because now you have experience, now you have perspective, now you have endurance and patience, qualities the world is starving for. Your life has been preparing you, not winding down. Every challenge you've faced, every lesson you've learned, has brought you to this moment, this season, this purpose. If breath is still in your lungs, then you still carry light. And that light can pierce darkness in ways you may never see, but others will feel. The mission isn't over. The impact isn't finished. You may not run like you once did, but your footsteps now carry wisdom, and your words echo louder because they've been tested by time. Purpose doesn't retire, it matures, and it may be in this very season that the world most needs what you carry. Old age is often portrayed as a time to relax, to take it easy, to wind down from the demands of life. But in truth, it is one of the most spiritually significant seasons of all. The final chapter of a life story is not just about what's left of the body, but what's being written in the soul. It is not a time to spiritually coast, it is a time to press in deeper, to guard the heart more fiercely, and to walk more closely with the one who has carried you through every storm. The danger is not in the weakness of age, but in the complacency that so easily comes with it. When the race is nearing its end, every step matters more. Just as a runner pushes hardest in the final lap, so too should the soul. The temptation is to let go, to ease off on prayer, to relax in disciplines, to become more tolerant of compromise. But this is exactly when the enemy prowls more subtly. He doesn't always come with force. Sometimes he whispers, "You've done enough," or "You deserve to take it easy." But the finish line is not a time to slow down spiritually, it is a time to finish faithfully. The heart must be guarded even more diligently in later years. Regret, bitterness, disappointment, pride, or even isolation can easily take root if the heart is left unattended. There is a reason why so many fall in the end, not because they were weak, but because they stopped watching. They stopped fighting. They assumed the battle was over when in reality, the final battles are often the fiercest. The weight of the past, the pain of loss, and the fear of the future can all wage war on the soul if vigilance is abandoned. But guarding the heart is not only about protecting against danger, it's about keeping it tender. It's about remaining humble, teachable, and open to the Spirit. It's choosing not to let years harden you, but rather let them refine you. There is something powerful about a life that ends with grace, with fire, with a soul that's still alive with purpose and conviction. This is not the time to be silent. This is not the time to hide. It is the time to shine more brightly. Your legacy is not just what you did when you were young, it's how you finish the race. A faithful heart in old age speaks louder than any sermon. It is a beacon to the next generation. It says, "This is the way, walk in it." It tells the world that faith doesn't fade, it deepens. That the fire of devotion doesn't die out, it grows more intense, more focused. So guard your heart not out of fear, but with fierce intention. Keep it soft, keep it steady, keep it full of truth. Because in the end, it's not just about how you began. It's about whether you cross the finish line still burning with love, still clinging to hope, still faithful to the very last breath. In conclusion, this speech is a powerful call to remain spiritually alert, especially in the later chapters of life. It reminds us that old age is not a time to withdraw from purpose, but to step into it more fully, with wisdom forged through years of walking the path. The final stretch of life carries eternal weight, and how we finish matters deeply. It is not enough to have started well. What will echo into eternity is whether we remained faithful, humble, and anchored in truth until the very end. Finishing strong requires intentionality, vigilance, and a heart that stays tender before God. The message is clear. Your final years can be your most fruitful, your clearest testimony, and your most sacred offering.